This week, we're going to answer the question of what is an RFD and how do you prepare one? So, first of all, we're going to show you where this comes up in the FDA 510K process. So let me share my screen here. So in this, this is a screen capture here, or I'm actually displaying a copy of the FDA 510K FDA eSTAR template. And at the top of the screen here, if you can't read it very well, I'll try to blow it up a little bit. There we go. It says page 3 of 24. So this is on page 4. It's the device description. And this is where you fill in the information about what is your device. And a little ways down in that section where you're answering these yes/no questions and selecting checkboxes, which one applies, which one doesn't, it asks the question, is the device a combination product or does a request for designation, RFD, / pre-RFD exist for the product? So you got to know what that is. Now, in general, most of the time when you're filling in a 510K, you can select the option that either doesn't have an asterisk, because usually the asterisk means you have to provide a justification, or in this particular, it says no, and in parentheses, most common. So if you're not sure, have no clue, have never heard of the term RFD, probably the answer is no, most common, and you just go on to the next question. So for most of you, just ignore this video. But for those of you that actually need to know what an RFD is and how to submit one, and when it comes up or somebody asks you this question, you'll be able to point them to this video and please share it with them, okay? What an RFD is it's simply the FDA has made a formal assignment of this product is a combination product, and this is the part of the FDA, the division of the FDA, that will be responsible or have jurisdiction over that product on whether it goes to market or not. And your basic divisions of the FDA are going to be Device Division, CDRH, Drug Division, CDER, and Biologics Division, CBER. So we call them CDRH, CDER, and CBER. So those are the three possible divisions of the FDA that could have assignment of jurisdiction over your product. And the referee, if you will, is the Office of Combination Products, which, yes, the FDA loves their three-letter acronyms, OCP for Office of Combination Products. So OCP makes the decision as referee over who has jurisdiction over your product if you have a combination product, and whether it will be primarily a biologic, primarily a drug, or primarily a device. And how you determine that is you fill out this document that's called a request for designation and submit it to the Office of Combination Products, and they make the decision. There is also something called a pre-RFD or pre-request for designation that you can submit as a type of Q-sub or pre-sub. And you don't submit it just like any old pre-sub. It's a special type. So I'm going to show you what one of those would actually look like. So why you don't do it the normal way. We have a pre-STAR template the FDA created for Q-subs. And they've enabled 3 different functionalities. A request for 513G, a request for email feedback, which would be written feedback only in a Q-sub, or a pre-sub meeting and written feedback. So those are the 3 types of Q-subs or pre-subs you can submit now using the pre-STAR template. All these white ones that don't have a gray circle, those you have to submit using a traditional e-copy format. So for those of you that have never seen an e-copy or have blocked it out of your mind because it was so painful to you, what I would say is that's where every document is a PDF and it has a specific formatting of the file names. 001 underscore and then the file name. 002 underscore the file name, 003 underscore the file name. You can also organize it in volumes and documents. So a volume structure instead of just file names that are sequentially numbered with 00 and then a number. And you get up to 10, it's 010, 011 underscore. So you have to follow the e-copy guidance. The FDA still has an e-copy guidance. They still accept e-copies. If you are submitting your e-copy to the biologics division, you do not zip it. You do not submit it through the CCP portal. Instead, you submit it through the e-submitter, and you have to have a special electronic submissions gateway account, and you upload it that way. It's like a file transfer protocol or FTP site. Yes, I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you, but you have a rewind button. You can watch this again. So if you're doing an e-copy, go follow the e-copy guidance. Go visit our page on e-copies. If you're not doing an e-copy, then you're going to use the pre-STAR. But for requests for determinations or requests for designation, whether it's an RFD or a pre-RFD that you're submitting, you're going to have to submit these using the e-copy. As I pointed out here, you can't use the eSTAR, the pre-STAR. Now, I am trying to finish an article for you that I think will help. So it's going to be called How to Write a Request for Designation. I expect it to be done later on today, so it'll be on our website. It'll be at medicaldeviceacademy.com/request-for-designation. If you type into the search engine on our website, request for designation or RFD, this will probably be the first thing that comes up. I haven't tested it yet because the page isn't live yet. But as you can see, we're making good progress here. We are, wrong size font. So we're saving the different sections, but it'll be what is a request for designation? What is a combination product? How do you write a request for designation? What is a pre-RFD? And there are hyperlinks here for the 2 guidance documents that the FDA has. So everything you need will be on one page for doing an RFD. But when are you going to be doing these RFDs? That's a really important question. So if you're not sure when you're doing an RFD, if your device is a preloaded syringe, so let's say it's a saline, a 10 mil flush saline syringe, that could be considered potentially a combination product if somebody thinks, oh, this is a drug inside the syringe, because that's what syringes are for, injecting drugs or aspirating drugs. So is it a combination product? If you were injecting something and you had a coated needle or a coated catheter, that coating could have something on it that might stop clotting, maybe heparin. So heparin is a drug, but are we putting the coating on there of heparin to try to thin the blood? No, we're just trying to prevent clotting of the needle. So therefore, it's not considered to be acting systemically, it's only acting locally on the device. So this is one of the ways they determine that, oh, the primary jurisdiction of this product with the coated heparin needle or coated heparin tip of a catheter, that's going to be primarily a device because the heparin, even though it's a drug, is acting locally, not systemically. The purpose of the device, the indication for use of the device, is whatever the catheter or needle's purpose is, not what the purpose or indication is for heparin. So in those cases, the Office of Combination Products should say CDRH has primary jurisdiction, and you will have to provide some information about the coating and what heparin you're using and all that information about it. But that should be the designation they'll make, that CDRH is going to have primary jurisdiction over this, and they may ask for a consultation from CDER for the heparin portion of this. They might not need it because they've done this so many times with heparin, it's no big deal, but they might. So it depends on what drug you've got. It depends on what the route of administration is. It depends on the dosage of the drug. It depends on the type of product, and depends on the patient population, what part of the body it's going. All these things matter. So whether it's a drug or a biologic, whether it's a device or not, whether it's a new product, whether it's an existing product, whether it's preloaded, whether it's a coating, all that stuff matters. So it's not simple. And so the first decision that you have to make is this even a combination product? Number one. You might not even have a combination product. So it would be nice to get that determination. It's not a combination product. Don't worry about it. But the people that are filling out their technical review, which happens in the first 15 days of receiving your 510K, they might not know that. They might be somebody with less experience. It's brand new at the FDA. They've been taught enough to do a technical review on a checklist, but not much more. Yes, they have a PhD and they're really smart people, but they don't have the experience. So they need somebody to tell them, is this a combination product or not? So that's why they ask that question in the eSTAR. Do you have an existing pre-RFD? So that's what you would do. You'd submit a pre-RFD to the Office of Combination Product and say, is this a combination product? We don't think it is. Here's why we don't think that. Do you agree with this? Get it in writing. You're done. Not a combination product. Keep on going. CDRH is your friend. But if they say, no, in this particular case, we consider that a combination product. So, for example, you're adding some ingredient to a bandage that makes it antimicrobial. A lot of antimicrobial bandages fall under FRO for the product code, and those bandages are considered combination products. That's why the FRO category there, it says with drug, because most of them are with drug. So you do check the box combination product, but sometimes you go to the Office of Combination Products and ask for an RFD, and you get a determination in a pre-RFD that it is a combination product, and the RFD tells you that the device side of the FDA will have primary jurisdiction, and that's all great information. But sometimes you've done this before. We've done antimicrobial. We know what this is for. This is not acting systemically. This is a no-brainer. This is definitely going to be device side, and I don't need to do an RFD. So depending on what your predicate is and what pathway they've been, you might be just following what somebody else has done. You don't need to do an RFD. So you're going to check no, which is the most common answer. But if you're doing something novel, the answer might be, yes, we've done a pre-RFD and we got a good determination from the Office of Combination Products. No, this is not a combination product. Or they could have said, yes, it is, and you had to follow up with an RFD and formally get the designation that CDRH has jurisdiction over this. So sometimes these happen, sometimes these don't happen. You have to go through the process. Now, the FDA gets a bit perturbed, irritated, when you ask them silly questions in a pre-RFD about something that's already clearly stated in the guidance document. So make sure you read the pre-RFD, make sure you read the RFD guidance. We're putting links of both of those on our webpage, so you can just click on it and there it'll be, boom, right up on the page, so you don't have to hunt all over the FDA website for it. But it will really help you to follow their directions. And for those of you that have purchased, yes, for those of you that have purchased our 510K course, now I have a little link there for the free, so you can get this information from our web page, and you can get this information from the video, the live video that we're recording right now. But at the same time, the people that have paid the extra money, they'll be able to go in and get the templates in that subfolder. So there's going to be a subfolder just for you folks that already has the template, so you don't have to create your own. Now, is it in there yet? Not yet. It will be by next week. So I had a client that was doing an RFD project, so I needed to create the templates anyway. So I'm going to create the templates. I'm going to put them in that folder, and you're going to have all this great information for if you have an RFD project. But I wanted people to know what is an RFD. I wanted them to know what the Office of Combination Products is. I wanted them to know what a pre-RFD is. And for those of you that have bought our 510K course, you're going to have free templates there you can use right away. For those of you that haven't, this is how you create the templates. It's not magic. It doesn't require a PhD. What you do is you go to the guidance document. And when they say, we want this, we want this, we want this, you make sure each of those items is a heading in your document. That way, when the person reviews it to make sure it meets the requirements for an RFD, they can see, oh, they followed our guidance in the order of our guidance, and each one is bolded by section. And if it's a section that's not applicable, you don't skip it, you don't delete it, you put the heading in there, and then right under there, you have one simple sentence. This is not applicable because. That's it. That's all you do. This is not applicable because, and you fill in the because part. That's how most documents get created. Templates get created. Same thing for cybersecurity. They want a cybersecurity post-market management plan. You go to that guidance document, every single requirement is a separate section, and you fill on that section. And you're not looking for a book. You're looking for a paragraph or two most of the time. Sometimes you might need a little bit more detail, but that's kind of the purpose of doing these pre-sub meetings with the FDA. So you do a pre-RFD with the FDA to find out what information do you want. So the things that you think are not applicable, you run those by the FDA. Do you agree? Yes, we agree. Do you agree it's OCP, it's a combination product? Yeah, we agree with that. But we're specifically going to be interested in this. Okay, I'll make sure I'll include that extra information in that section of my RFD. Thank you very much. You read the guidance, you pass. So make it easy on yourself. Now, one of the things you will note is they have 60 days is the target timeline for getting your responses back. If it is not something that is tracked as part of the budget and doesn't have a budget impact, the FDA is really thin right now in terms of resources, so it might not be done on time. So count on more like 90 days when it says 60 days. If it's an item that is tracked, then they will respond in a timely manner. So the pre-subs that we normally send out there for devices, we get those in 75 days. We get the email in 70 days. But these, if you're submitting a 513G or you're submitting an RFD, you're probably not going to get your answer in the 60 days, I promise. Just so you can set some expectations appropriately for your senior management and your investors when you haven't done this before. They'll think you did something wrong. No, we didn't do anything wrong. Just the FDA is a little thin on resources right now, and this isn't impacted by their budget. Or this doesn't impact their budget. So it gets pushed a little bit to the backside. There are some people at the FDA that will still get it done on time. And those people, thank you very much. But most of them we understand, and we'll wait a few extra days, another 30 days, before we'll say, hey, by the way, that was due, like, you have something for me. Okay, everybody. So hopefully now you know what a combination product is. You know what the Office of Combination Products is and what their role is. You also know what an RFD is. You know that you should do a request for designation first to get confirmation that we agree it's a combination product. You need an RFD. If you have a bandage with an antimicrobial, no, you don't need it. You just need to submit this information. So sometimes informal RFDs are perfectly acceptable. Yes, it's a combination product. Yes, it's CDRH. You don't need to do a submission. Save some paperwork. Save us some work. They'll gladly help you with that because it's informal. But sometimes you need the formal, especially when you're doing something novel that nobody's ever done before. So I hope I've answered everybody's questions about what is an RFD and how to do a request for designation. I know I didn't actually build the form out for you. Buy our course that tells you how to do a 510K, and it'll include that. Or download the guidance document and do what I said. Follow step by step, each heading for each section. It isn't that hard. Okay. I hope you guys have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. I hope this was helpful. Please share it with others, and happy Labor Day. Bye-bye.